Well, it's always interesting to kickstart a viewpoint on Atlantic TV with the papers. And what better way to start it off on a lovely Monday morning, the beginning of an awesome new week. And for review today, as always, we have several papers. And you do know we have the Punch as much as we have the Guardian to guide us through. And definitely the Vanguard will be here. And we'll be looking at Nigerian Tribune, Daily Sun, Daily Trust, and you know the nation will wrap things up. But I always enjoy starting with a punch and see how we can really too. But let's see if we take some other leading stories still on the front page of the Punch. And fake agency scandal, police to arraign controversial DG on Tuesday is on page 24. NDLA arrests South African woman over 5.75 kilogram of cannabis haul. And funny enough, she came into the country with holding a toddler. And you'll be amazed that she hid that in her bag. I have seen the video, but the baby is innocent. We'll get that on page 4 and 5. Only 217,784 meters installed under a $500 million power project, according to a report. And you see where did the rest money go to, but get it up on page 34. Our story on page 4 and 5, and also the picture of the day. Commuters stranded as flood wreak havoc on Lagos and Ogun roads. And honestly, wow, that's more like a sea rather than a road. But anyway, that's the much you can take from the Punch.
Let's check how stories make a round on the Guardian newspaper. And on the Guardian newspaper, the lead story reads, Nigeria leaves e-waste recycling to hustlers and misses out on $89 billion income, is on page 6. Trump's new Africa envoys visit Nigeria, presents new migration deal, is a story on page 3. Oyo decries doctor-patient ratio gaps, widening infrastructure deficits, still on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Dangote cracks down on illegal haulage, offers 500,000 reward for whistleblowers, is on page 2. Let's see if we can get more of the leading ones still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Terrorists kill 9 Plateau family members, 18 in Benue State attack, is on the third one on page 30. Article NAS Fort proposed 50,000 naira WAEC and NECO's fees hike. You can get more of that on page 7. Let accountability prevail in probe of NNPCLS, a 210 trillion naira shortfall. There's more of the editorial on page 12. PFIPC, police arena Adeyemi tomorrow as pressure mounts on Senate and ICPC, is on page 6. How intelligence-led operations aid rescue of abducted Orire victims, is a major one on page 5. 2027, Igbo leaders raise concern over suppression of opposition, is a major one still on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. And the picture of the day, let's quickly see the picture of the day. Well, the picture of the day is a graphic representation of the lead story. That's what we can take from the Guardian this morning.
Well, the nation will definitely be next for us to look at. And on the nation this morning, the lead story reads, APC, ADC, NDC not ready for polls. I'm not saying that, but the nation. Try to understand what they mean on page 2 of the nation newspaper. And Orire, wives of adopters for arraignment, arrested kids to go home. And I'll tell you to go to get that story up on page 3, but we'll be looking more of it on dialogue. Nigeria orders to form single block for global cocoa supply is more of the supply story on page 19. At 92, Shoinko is a living repository of knowledge, says Tinubu. And wow, he's already 92. But I'll tell you to read that story up, not on 92, but page 6 of the nation. Nigeria records on 4 months high crude production, no surprise. And you can get that story up on page 19. And let's see if we take others, if there are any. And anyway, it's more like the picture of the day, and it's more of a congratulation to no other but President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and also Vice President Kashim Shettima, as they'll be flying a joint ticket come the 2027 general elections. And we're already seeing the door-to-door movement of 2027 seems to be congratulating them. But that's the much you can take from the nation.
Still on Dailies, let's check out stories making it to the headline on the Nigerian Tribune. On the Nigerian Tribune, the lead story reads, Untold story of Orire rescue operation and the riders to follow, how General Rabi's death influenced tactical change. And get more of that on page 2. Let's see if we can get more of the little one above the plate name. Suspected herders killed 16 in Benue. As family of 9, 2-month-old baby killed in another plateau attack. Is a sad one on page 26. Iran closes Strait of Hormuz as hostilities escalate with US is on page 4. Expert 1 on multiplicity of security agency at Nigeria's airport. You can get more of that on page 5. Let's see if we can get more of the leading ones still on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Fake PFIPC DG at Deyemi to be arraigned on Tuesday. So on page 25, reps opposition lawmakers demand extension of ongoing voters registration.
The federal government borrowed 7.6 trillion via T-bills, bonds in 6 months. Is IPC DG at Deyemi tomorrow, and their days of arraignment is on page 28. Rescue other Nigerians in captivity in Borno, Katsina, orders can tells federal government, and that directive given on page 25. Why I want to engage Obi in debate, Umahi. I don't know, would they be talking about road construction? But get that story up on page 28. First floating NLG project, UTM offshore target September final investment decision. And you can decide to read that story up on page 24. The picture of the day is members of Board Bank of Agriculture, and a whole lot of them yesterday during their inauguration. And honestly, that team played out yesterday in Lagos State. Well, anyway, that's the much you can take from the Daily Sun.
I trust you're having a good time here on Dailies as we look at Daily Trust newspaper. And on Daily Trust, the latest story reads, Federal government exam fee hike raises dropout fears. There's a major one on page 4. And still on the front page, parents of abducted Borno pupils mount pressure after Oyo rescue is on page 7. And quite a disturbing and sad one on page 6, as 9 family members, 27 others killed in Plateau, Benue, and Niger states. And it's really a sad one on page 6. And on page 41, he was our hope, father of slain 28-year-old Lieutenant Moores. Let's see if we can get more of the lady ones still on the front page of the Daily Trust. Well, and on the front page, a major one agency, 2 heads. Wike's Hali remains in office despite Tinubu's directive. Is on page 5, and funny enough, the cartoon representation of that very story is a picture of the day. Well, that's much we can take from the Daily Trust newspaper.
Well, anyway, just as much as we trust you are still with us, let's quickly run to the Vanguard. And on the Vanguard this morning, how arrest of kidnappers' family members led to rescue of victims